On this week's episode, with WandaVision, it's Agatha all along. What's the future for Blizzard? And can Constantine save the souls of HBO Max? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows, and if you can, please give us that 5 Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break, Game Source, and Inside Sports Fantasy Football, it is greatly appreciated. And just wanted to remind you, on Twitch, Pop Culture Cosmos is back and back strong. Not only do we have RPG tabletop games going on several times a week that you can see live right on Twitch and also our Facebook page, but also as well, you get a lot of uploaded goodness, back videos, current episodes of the Pop Culture Cosmos, RPG videos, and so much more. I want to thank so much the entire tabletop RPG crew, including Melinda, Mitch, Roger, Rob, everyone else that is associated with this. We truly appreciate this collaborative effort to get the Pop Culture Cosmos very strong on Twitch. So if you can follow us as all of our social media, it is greatly appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own mighty Josh and Power Josh of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to catch what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. His awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck. His shows that he currently has out, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. It is my good friend indeed. It is a man no longer on the market. So sorry, ladies, all those emails you send in, we cannot honor them at this point in time anymore. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
Hey, man. So can I just rant about something real quick? I've been wanting to rant about this for a couple weeks.
Not before I give you, again, first time we've seen each other since you did the big deed, a hearty congratulations, my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's just been crazy out here in Texas. You know, it had one thing and then had a bunch of weather, and then it's just always one thing or another, man. So hopefully it's going to be a little smooth.
What did I hear you say about, what did Texas greet you with as a wedding present? The day of tomorrow, I think?
Yeah, the day after tomorrow rolled in here.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad you're safe. I know a lot of people have been suffering through Texas right now, and the weather that's out there, and our hearts go out to everyone that's adversely affected, such as yourself. So stay strong, my friend, and we're here for you.
I appreciate that. Okay, so rant-wise, you know I'm a Power Ranger fan, and
go
yeah.
Power Rangers.
So ever since Hasbro bought Power Rangers, they've made like cheap plastic toys. They don't do like the cool stuff anymore. The only time they make like high quality toys are for like collectors, right? And they charge you like $25 to $40 for these things, which is absolutely ridiculous. But now you can't. Hasbro took the streaming rights to Power Rangers from Netflix. So now they have one season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on there, but you can't watch any of the other episodes because nobody knows, you know, and there's not really any way you can buy the DVDs, I'm sure, out there. Yeah, but I mean, why does Hasbro want Power Rangers? Because Bandai made amazing Power Ranger toys. They're all like, the pieces were all metallic and shiny, very articulate, and now it's like Fisher Price toys, and you just can't like do cool things with them. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is I don't like the direction that Hasbro has taken Power Rangers. I think that Bandai was amazing and they need to go back to them.
Well, that's a bigger issue for another day, but I agree with you, my friend, that Hasbro, you got to give them credit for buying all these IPs. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people have talked about that. I mean, so many other things that Hasbro has bought and purchased that they now have ownership of that they're trying to monetize in different ways, such as putting movie rights out on a lot of these properties. So it's very interesting to see. And I know a lot of their moves have not been for the best in some people's eyes, like yours right now, like you're seeing with the quality of the action figures. I think we got to get Rob here on a three-way here talking about that, because I know that's a bigger issue with Hasbro's domination of the market. So I think that's an issue that we need to put on the show at some point in time. So I'm going to see what I can line up. But speaking of Rob McCallum, he's going to stop by later in the program to talk about two of his other projects, because he was here on Friday's show talking Action Figure Adventure. And in fact, I have a review of the entire series of Action Figure Adventure available right now at popculturecosmos.com that you can check out. But today he's going to be talking video game box art, the stories behind the covers. That's video game box art, the stories behind the covers, and his latest project, Faking Filmation. So we'll go ahead and talk to him about that real quick. Plus, TJ Johnson's going to be stopping by to talk WandaVision episode 7. Hopefully my daughter will be as well, Elowen Glassford. So appreciate their time in going ahead and talking about it. But I get you, my friend. I think we got to go ahead and have Rob, maybe even Jay, the guys behind the Rob and Jay Toy Show. I think we need to go ahead and get them on the show to talk about Hasbro's domination, and is that a good thing or the bad or a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the market works for toys right now. I noticed that there's significantly less toys, or as far as like action figures go, when you go into like Target and Walmart. So I'd be down to talk about that for sure.
Absolutely. But we've got a lot of other great things to talk about, including, like I said before, WandaVision episode 7. On the back end of the episode, we're going to be talking some Constantine heading to HBO Max, which I know Josh has truly got a lot of excitement for. I know this is something he has asked for time and time and time again, and his dreams are finally coming true as a Constantine series is coming to HBO Max. So we'll talk about that and his expectations for that on the back end of the show. Plus, with BlizzCon coming this weekend, we're going to talk some of the announcements from there, but mainly we're going to talk about Blizzard's itself and its future. Where does it stand in the eyes of gamers, and where can it go from here? We're going to talk about that coming up on the episode as well. But first, my friend, WandaVision episode 7 is now in the modern age of television, with an episode that was patterned after Modern Family and also The Office. I want to hear your thoughts first off, because I've got a lot to talk about. And as I alluded to, if you heard my previous episode, the previous interview, with TJ Johnson, which I'll have coming up here on a sec. I'll say this right now before I give it over to you. All I'll say is that it was a good and a bad episode. It was a good episode if you're unfamiliar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you needed to get up to speed, and also the twist at the end was something that might have intrigued you. But for the bad, if you're knowledgeable in the MCU, I don't think it was really that. I don't think your expectations were met.
Yeah, okay. So can I talk spoilers? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. From this point forward, everyone, for the rest of the episode, it is spoilers. Just want to let you know. So please, if you haven't checked out already, please pause it. If you're watching or listening to us, want to go ahead and just pause it, and then go ahead and start the play button again once you finish the episode of WandaVision. But go ahead, my friend.
Okay, so Agatha Harkness she was not a likely candidate in my eyes, and I know you were. Who did you think it was?
Well, as far as I thought first off, the guy or the villain pulling off the entire strings is Nightmare or someone higher than that, and ultimately that may be the case. But Agatha Harkness is someone who's been speculated heavily, and I'm talking about heavily in regards to who the Agatha, the Agnes character, the neighbor character, has been along. So that didn't come to me as a shock, because again, her ultimate reveal in her character has been speculated on for like weeks and weeks on end.
Okay. See, I wasn't on that boat. Like I never had any guess that it was her. You know, like I've read some of the comic books that have Agatha Harkness in it. I never really thought she was that interesting of a character. So I guess that's why it kind of surprised me that they used her. For those of you who don't know, Agatha Harkness is like Scarlet Witch's Obi-Wan. So she trained Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch eventually kills her. Yeah, I don't know. It was not expected. I now looking back at it now, I probably should have put two and two together. That being said, it was. I don't know. Like I felt like when she went down into the basement, it had like a Disney Halloween Town vibe to it. Like it just kind of lost its momentum because you sit there and when you think about Marvel, you think about like things being epic, and as she walks down and she's kind of trapped in that little chamber, you kind of think to yourself, well, how epic can it be if it's taking place in a single room? More thoughts. I did enjoy the chemistry between Vision and Kat. What's her
Kat
name?
Dennings.
Kat Dennings.
Darcy Lewis.
Darcy. Yeah. Vision and Darcy. That was cool. I love how that subtle little insult, where she turned all the agents into clowns. That was fun. I liked the what was it? The way that or the what's her name get Rambo getting her powers. So for those of you who don't know, in the comic books, she has the ability to manipulate whatever kind of energy is thrown at her, and in this case it was like kinetic energy or something.
Yeah,
that's how she was able to get through the barrier. And also, if you notice, when Wanda threw her powers at her, she's able to kind of absorb it, and that's probably going to have a big part in her getting through to Wanda wherever she seems to be trapped. Loved how Evan Peters showed up again. I really am hoping that this is kind of a bridge opener to the X-Men universe. I know, like we talked about this before, and you said it's not as they wouldn't do it like this, but like I do hope that there's some kind of mention of it. Maybe he came from a multiverse, like a different Marvel universe, but I know that this is all eventually leading into Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I'm sure there's more reveals to come in the net.
And Doctor Strange 2, and maybe even Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. What do you think about the idea or the rumors circling around that Doctor Strange is going to appear in one of these episodes? I've seen a lot of speculation on the internet about it.
I think it's pretty much a done deal. Plus, also, there should be a reveal of a big baddie that's even above Agatha Harkness, or maybe the driving force, whatever's in that mysterious book that she seems to have right there in the middle of all the action at the end. And speculation, what could that be? Dormammu? Could be back to what we're seeing with, like I said, Nightmare, something like that. So we'll see what happens. As far as I think there's someone even larger pulling all the strings. That's, that was all along. That was, that going to be pulling the strings with Agatha, who was pulling the strings on what was going on with Wanda. So we'll see what happens there. I want to go ahead and say right off the bat that, there's a lot of excitement, and that is to be greatly appreciated for WandaVision. It was reported over Friday night that when it first hit on Disney Plus, that there was such a sheer demand for WandaVision that it broke Disney Plus and that it caused Disney Plus to crash, which is a tremendous sign of the demand for not episode 1, not episode 2, not the last episode, but episode 7, for something that a lot of people are getting into. It seems like it's just grown and grown and grown. And that's probably some of the best news for Marvel right there, that you have such a sheer demand that you break Disney Plus. That right there is to be complimented on. I mean, obviously not on Disney Plus's side, because you need to have a better service to handle it, but the kind of sheer demand that's out there. I mean, that's going to be the good. For the bad, for me, there's so much that was underwhelming in that episode. Like, for instance, Darcy's character, I thought it would have been more elaborate. Something would have given her something more special. This just seemed like was just a nice little running joke of what happened in the Hex, and and that's it. And she just was in there just to dump some exposition, and that was it, to Vision and to the audience out there that needs to catch up. So that was her role in this was kind of disappointing, and I feel bad for her character because she was very poorly used. The engineer, which was hyped up so much in the previous couple weeks, as far as, supposedly this engineer was out there, this mysterious engineer that built this craft that would get Photon, aka Monica Rambeau, in through the hex. That was built up and built up and built up, and the payoff on that was extremely underwhelming. Like, not only was the individual engineer, or I think who is the engineer, just just an individual officer in the military who doesn't have any prior history in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all, or in the Marvel Universe, period, because she is not. It was just basically a brand new character made up, but we don't know if this individual will have any more future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we were expecting Reed Richards or something like that. That kind of fell short, or even Sue Storm or something like that. That would have been really cool. But yeah, it didn't pan out. And the vehicle itself, it didn't even get through the first layer of the hex, and it crashed and burned. So I mean, all that hype for nothing there. I was kind of disappointed with that. And then again, like I said about Darcy Lewis's character, that was just basically there for an exposition dump to Vision, to get him going. You don't see what happens once he takes off after he learns all about this, what's going on from Darcy. You don't see what happens, so you'll see what happens in the next 2 episodes. So he basically flies off, and that's the end of him for the rest of the episode. And of course, the reveal of Agatha Harkness. If you're not familiar with Agatha Harkness, or like you, Josh, hadn't been seeing all these speculation videos, it was more enjoyable to you out there. But if you're someone familiar with the Marvel Universe and you've been watching all these hype videos and things of that nature, or these speculation videos, then it obviously was something that, okay, it's Agatha Harkness. We knew that, but I still think that there's someone bigger pulling the strings. And last but not least, I have a puzzling question to you, Josh. At the very end, there is a mid-credit scene, so you have to stay to the end, past the mid-credits for this ending scene, like you said, with Evan Peters, and also as well, Evan Peters playing. We don't know if he's playing actually Peter, Maximoff now. You don't know if he's Pietro or not. Now you're kind of wondering what his role actually is. He goes ahead and catches Monica Rambeau trying to go ahead and head into the basement where Wanda and Agatha are at. My question to you is, why have a mid-credit scene, and not necessarily a scene with them, because you could put that in the episode, but why have a mid-credit scene now in the basically the middle of the series? It's episode 7 of 9. Why have a mid-credit scene now? Why not have it after every show, after every episode, or have it at the beginning or the end? It seemed like a very puzzling time to go ahead and have a mid-credit scene.
Well, they just made a big reveal, and we don't know yet whether Evan Peters is there to help or there to hinder. We did see how, she snapped her finger, and it was originally supposed to be Aaron Johnson, and then it changed into Evan Peters. So I think that was meant to build suspense for the next episode. Like, is he working for Agatha, or is he there to help? Was he like pulled from another Marvel world or whatever? So I think it's meant to build suspense, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if we saw more of those mid-credit scenes going all the way up until episode 9.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens, but I was left underwhelmed. I don't know about you, but it doesn't deter my excitement overall for the series. I'm still very excited to go ahead and see what happens in 8, 9. I mean, The Mandalorian had its Tatooine episode, which was a stinker, and we still kept going through The Mandalorian with great excitement. And you look what happened there. We got a nice big payoff, and it's turned out great from there. So I just consider this like a bump in the road for me.
Okay. So, on that note, I feel like at this point, they can't keep doing the sitcom things anymore. Like, now they're committed to the story they're trying to tell. Because for me, what kind of slowed me down in the episode, kind of kept pulling me out, was the fact that they were having such big reveals, and they kept trying to go back to that sitcom. They tried that. It was obviously it was The Office, right? They're kind of
Modern Family-ish. They had The Office opening, but it was more structured after Modern Family.
yeah. So they kept trying to go back to all this like sitcom themes that they were doing, and it was not. It was ruining the pacing because you had these like big action parts where the music picked up, and then you have like the wah 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 stuff going on, and it kind of like I don't know. It ruined the pace. It's like when you're jogging a marathon and you have to stop to tie your shoe every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. And I just hope they don't do that moving forward because it is a bit tiring, especially now that they've made these big reveals.
Well, we'll find out what happens in episode 8. We are still excited for that. For me, like I said, this week was a bump in the road. For Josh, it sounds like it was a little bit better, but we want to hear your thoughts on WandaVision episode 7 and the series as a whole. Is it going in the direction you want it to go in? And are you excited for the final 2 episodes of WandaVision? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the half-hour break, and we're going to head in to see Rob McCallum right on the backside, hopefully TJ Johnson, Ellen Glassford as well. Wanted to go ahead and ask you this real quick, my friend. Blizzcon took place this weekend. It didn't have really that much in the way of notoriety. I mean, just said that Diablo 4, I believe, is still under construction, so it's still being developed, and it's not coming out anytime soon. Diablo 2 Resurrected was shown in its place. What a shock. Another game that's being remade. Oh joy. Oh joy. I guess I got to be excited for that. And there were some other things that were going on as far as, the interactions of Warcraft and things of that nature, but nothing really, wow, bam, exciting, nothing really to get just interested in. And BlizzCon used to be such a period of time where they would announce these great things and everybody would be excited. I know also as well Overwatch 2, they were talking about making sure that everybody knows that it's still on the way. But again, man, to me, I think there's a larger issue with Blizzard. Ever since the purchase by Activision, I don't see them heading in the right direction, and I don't see it changing around anytime soon.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back when I was in high school, right, that's when World of Warcraft came out. Everyone was playing, everybody loved it. There's Blizzard fanboys all over the place, and now you just don't hear about it as much. Stores don't hold, they don't have cardboard cutouts for World of Warcraft anymore. Especially when like the expansions come out, they don't have big sections that just have Warcraft stuff in it. There's the hype just isn't there anymore, and yeah, it might have something to do with Activision purchasing Blizzard and Blizzard not being able to kind of do their thing. Because what made Blizzard such a great company before was the fact that they were a small company and they were run by people who really enjoyed making games. I don't know how much the shareholders really had to do with it. I don't know if they were profitable or not, but when World of Warcraft came out, they seemed to be doing okay. Now you have them owned by Activision, and Activision's they're a big company, and there are shareholders. So I think that they're not the company they used to be. They're more, they're toting the line of corporate, pleasing corporate and making sure the shareholders get what they need. And I don't think there's a lot of like creative input. I don't think that people who actually make the games have a lot of creative input anymore, as much as what's going to make those dollar, nickel and dimes. As for BlizzCon, I honestly I didn't even know BlizzCon was happening. I logged on, I got onto the computer, or not computer, but I got on my phone. I was kind of looking at gaming news, saw Diablo 4 was in development. It's not even something that I was aware that was happening. I was, and going through the news, I saw that they're re-releasing some of their older stuff on console, right? There's like some kind of Viking something or other games I had never even heard of. I have been hoping for a long time to have like a console version of Warcraft 2 and 3 come out because I did enjoy playing those games.
Rock and Roll Racing. You can't forget about Rock and Roll Racing.
Rock and Roll Racing. So I mean, they didn't really announce. Nothing really happened. Thinking about it, they just said, "Hey, we're working on this game." They didn't really give you anything. There wasn't really anything there that maintained hype at all. And
I think it's a larger issue, my friend. I really do.
It does feel like they are fading from popularity. Like I don't know if you read the reviews for the last Warcraft expansion, but I read quite a few of them, and a lot of people had said this is a great expansion, but this is also a good time for us to leave the world of Warcraft, no pun intended. Like they were people saying that the game was good, but this is where they need to stop. And
Well, I agree with you, my friend. I mean, it seems like time has passed Blizzard by. Am I
Mhm.
wrong on that? I mean,
No,
Overwatch is a nice step,
yeah.
but it's just a nice step. It's not something that's going to win people back for a long time to come.
Well, and here's the thing: you look at Microsoft, right, and Halo. You look at PlayStation and Uncharted. What makes these games like be able to climb from one console to another is the fact that it still has the attention of the generation that started it. Whereas the people who played Warcraft, there's not a lot of them have the time to sit down and play those games anymore. So when you're not making things that are appealing to, I know Overwatch is huge in esports. A lot of kids like playing that game, but as for Warcraft, there's no good place for people to jump on and play that game. They're not making new IPs. They're just working on things that have been around for years, and
This is my dad's game. This is my mom's
yes,
game.
yes, yeah. And so they're not making things that are bringing in new generations of gamers. They're just kind of like clinging to the nostalgia of a generation that doesn't really have as much time to play games as they once did.
And it's a shame to see that, but it's not surprising because we've seen this happen all the time where once powerful companies within the realm of video game making, I mean, they have something that they stand by for a long period of time, but then it overstays its welcome and then it loses its player base a little bit more, but you don't have anything solid to replace it. I mean, the World of Warcraft, even in 2016, when you and I started this show, was still something that they could rely heavily upon because they had a decent enough user base that was still playing the game. Now, 5 years later, that tells us almost how long we've been doing this, my friend, but almost 5 years later, it just seems like they don't have the imagination to evolve beyond that. Overwatch is a nice step, and you're right, it does have some footing in the esports realm, but it's not the number one game on esports. I mean, right now, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, there's like a half a dozen other games which I could say are either at or above its level of popularity right now in esports. So with me, I just think it's you have a company that has just not found something that could evolve with the times enough to go ahead and keep it up on top. Especially the fact since Activision is now obviously part of Blizzard and Blizzard's part of Activision, all that, and the parent company that owns the whole thing and all that. That it just seems like when they took the money and became part of something bigger, they lost their individuality and their spirit to drive forward and evolve and continue their growth at an exponential rate like what they were doing previously before they got acquired.
Well, this seems to happen a lot, though. I mean, you go look at the case of, oh, sorry, I just had one in my head that I was thinking about, and now it's.
Well, are you worried about that for Bethesda? Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, I mean Bethesda. I don't think Bethesda's going to have an issue with that. They only make certain types of games. We've seen what happens every time they venture outside of Fallout and Elder Scrolls. They end up making something like Brink that does okay numbers, but then in the end ends up costing them money. So it's yeah, you get style. Okay, EA. This was what I was going to talk about. EA. You look at it with Mass Effect, right? I'm sure they had that. I was in interviews I've been reading with employees, they're saying that like they had these grand ideas for this Mass Effect game, and then EA was making it difficult to work on stuff like that, right? Because they were saying, hey, we need to make it stick to what the fans want or what they think the fans want, and then they were moving workers around to work on Star Wars games. So just I think when you're owned by bigger entities, there's not a lot of freedom because you think about having to work on other projects and manpower, and the chance that the shareholders aren't going to get their money's worth out of the company. Like I think this is why indie games are starting to become just the new Wild West of gaming, because there's nobody pulling the strings, nobody telling them they have to have this, this, and this. Even look at like movie companies, right? Ever since DC, or Warner Brothers corporate got involved in the DC films, we see the same thing. You have to have this, 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 and this, and there's not really a lot of creative freedom.
I couldn't agree with you more, for my friend. It's just something where we're seeing the declining residual results of the effects and the power that Blizzard, the once mighty Blizzard, has. I mean, they're still got some good stuff on the way. I mean, Diablo 4, a lot of people will be excited about. Diablo 2 Resurrected, a lot of people are interested in. Overwatch 2, a lot of people obviously want to get back into that and be competitive and see where they stand with this new version of the game whenever it comes out. But it just, with Blizzard, it just doesn't seem to have this weight. I mean, when you and I started talking games, back even in 2015, when you and I first started having conversations in regards to video games, Blizzard was a big powerhouse. I just don't feel that they're that way anymore.
Yeah, and what's sad is the fact that if Blizzard were to make something that was, in the realm of games that they know how to make, and there was something that was new and felt fresh, and it was maybe driven onto consoles as well, like I could see myself maybe becoming a part of that community for at least as long as I am able to play it. And that doesn't sound, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in that same boat who would love to see a new RPG from Blizzard come out, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be happening anytime soon. And I feel like, again, with the exception of Overwatch, and I honestly feel like a lot's going to hinge on the number return from Diablo 4. If that doesn't do well, then I don't really see them having a future, because the only thing that they're doing to get new blood in, again, is Overwatch, and it's just that's not a very profitable model going forward, especially like you look 10, 20 years from now, they're still making WoW expansions and StarCraft games and Diablo games, and the people who grew up playing these things have less and less time to sit down and play video games anymore. They're essentially going to be making games until the generation that played them becomes the dying generation, and they're just going to kind of phase themselves out of existence.
What are your thoughts out there on the future of Blizzard? I mean, Josh and I don't have exactly the sparkling of, we don't have the most sparkling of, I guess, speculation, most sparkling of analysis when it comes to the future of what Blizzard will be or what will become, unless they make certain changes. So we want to hear Blizzard. Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, we've got Rob McCallum, TJ Johnson, and hopefully my daughter as well, Ellen Glassford. That's Rob McCallum, TJ Johnson, and Ellen Glassford coming up on the back half of the show. Rapid fire. Rob McCallum talking faking filmation, and also as well video game box art, the stories behind the covers. Then TJ Johnson is going to be talking WandaVision, and my daughter Ellen Glassford will as well. And then on the back end of the show, we're going to be talking some Constantine on HBO Max. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. I want to thank so much Rob McCallum, TJ Johnson, and Ellen Glassford for stopping by on the program today. But before we head on out, Josh, my friend, I wanted to thank you again for stopping by. I know you've had a difficult week, obviously, there in Texas, and having to deal with a whole bunch of stuff going on, but I know some news got your way that actually, for a brief moment, brightened up your day. And that was something you have been wanting for quite some time, that you have talked about on this show. And that's Constantine, a series coming to HBO Max.
Yeah, so I mean, as you know, I was a huge fan of the NBC version of Constantine. What I like,
I'm a good fan of the movie. I really like it.
Yeah, and so I mean, it would be cool. They haven't made any casting announcements yet.
It was slow, but I thought it was very, very well done.
Oh, for sure, and it holds up pretty well today too. I mean, it's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's it's entertaining. Like if it's
Yes.
on, I'm not going to turn it off. I thought Rachel Weisz was really good in that movie as well. Looking at casting decisions for this new Constantine series, again, so this is going to be, from what I understand, what I've been reading is HBO Max is going to do kind of what Netflix did with the Marvel characters, right? They're going to be introducing each of these characters. They're going to have their Constantine, Swamp Thing, Etrigor the Demon. What's the girl's name? Zar something. I'm sorry. I'm kind of. Hold on. That's actually going to bother me.
Okay. Well, while you think on that, again, Constantine on HBO Max is something that is now in development. It's a great sign. They haven't cast Constantine as of yet, at least that they've not made it public. They're not going to have the NBC Constantine, and they certainly don't want to put the paycheck out for Keanu Reeves.
Zatanna is her name, and then there's Dead Man also. Yeah, I mean, so it would be cool if Keanu Reeves was part of it. I mean, that would be a great way of making the Constantine movie canon. I know it's going to cost money, but I mean, look at this though. Like HBO, they have the money. HBO Max and Warner Brothers, they have the money, and this would be a great way because they're slowly starting to tie all these properties together, especially with Flashpoint coming up. This would be a golden opportunity.
I would at least ask him.
I would too. This would be a golden opportunity for them to take, because once they connect Batman, and I don't know if they're going to Flashpoint won't have any connection to the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but Constantine will just kind of be that lone property floating out in the void. If they cast Constantine in this show, or sorry, not Constantine, Keanu Reeves as Constantine, they could take this like random property floating out in the ether and kind of tie it into their existing universe. So that being said, again, they're going to go with like Swamp. They're going to their plan is to give all these characters their own series and then tie them into a Justice League Dark. My question to you though is, in most of the Justice League, so Justice League Dark is it's a really dark property. I know Guillermo del Toro was tied to it for a while, and then I forget who else was. They had Colin Farrell lined up to play Constantine. None of that stuff ever came through. I think that putting it onto a streaming format, great idea. My question to you though is, most of the popular Justice League Dark comic book runs usually had Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman in them to kind of like show, I don't know, lend a bigger hero to a smaller world. Do you think that that's going to be the case with this show when Justice League Dark finally hits HBO Max? You think they will bring somebody from the film universe into this smaller world?
They have to. It makes it for so much more an interesting tie-in. And they obviously are going to be watching very closely what Disney Plus is doing with the Star Wars and MCU universe as far as the tie-ins and things of that nature that they try to go ahead and allude to the larger film universe. And of course, the Marvel, where it actually is a direct tie-in, where everything is a direct tie-in to what you've already seen on film.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that definitely they're going to take steps from, and it would be in their best interest to do.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't. Again, though, like Constantine, such an interesting character. So many layers to this individual. I would not want him to become overshadowed by like having Batman or somebody in there. I hope that when Justice League Dark comes out, if they were going to use a bigger hero, they don't make it more about that bigger hero than about these characters, because these characters are all really interesting, and this is a side of the DC universe that feels, I'm not going to say grounded, but it feels gritty, and it feels like it can exist without having to rely heavily on everything else that exists in that world.
What are your thoughts out there on a Constantine series coming to HBO Max? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I know you've got some things that you want to talk about real quick with Netflix. So thank you so much again for being on today's program. It's always been a great time. Coming up later this week, we are going to have on the PCC Multiverse, Mike Faber, and also as well Kevin Eldridge from the ESO Network. It's our annual, we cry and we debate over the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees. So we're going to go ahead and speculate who might get in, who might stay out, and who should have been in the first place on the next episode of the PCC Multiverse. But my friend, it's been a great episode. But any last thoughts on possibly Netflix Marvel Heroes on the way out.
So the internet is alight with rumors. So we're gonna walk back down rumor street for a minute. Okay, so we know that Charlie Cox has been spotted on the set of Spider-Man 3. Rumor has he's going to be playing the lawyer. And we know that the rights to all the Netflix, the last 2 Netflix shows finally went back to Marvel. Disney has been, again, all rumor. There's been speculation that Disney is going to keep Mike Colter. How do you say his last name?
I think it's Colter.
Colter in the role of Luke Cage, but there's no, the chances are high they're going to recast the role of Iron Fist.
Very high.
Very high. No word yet on John Bernthal's Punisher, and there's a little bit of whispers about Jessica Ritter remaining in the role of Jessica Jones. This is interesting to me because, they had brief nods to the MCU in those movies, talking about the big green guy and like the event is what they call it in there. This would officially like tie it into the MCU. And this I know Feige did not really get along with what's his name, Jeff Loeb, who kind of got these shows going. So, but the fans have spoken. So, do you think Feige is going to give the fans what they want and officially introduce these characters, or do you think there's going to be a massive reboot? And if there is a massive reboot, what role is Charlie Cox going to play in this?
Well, see, he has the advantage. He can pick and choose who he wants to go ahead and stay and retain, and what stories he wants to keep and retain, and what he wants to go ahead and redo and things of that nature. I think the Defenders are not going to play a large role, at least early on, as far as now that they're all back. I don't think that is something Kevin Feige had on his I gotta have it wish list.
Yeah.
I think Charlie Cox is there because he was the most popular of Netflix shows and the most popular of Netflix heroes. And if he has, like you said, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones returns, that's great. And also John Barenthal, having him as the Punisher is not a bad deal either. But I don't see them playing a humongous role going forward. Maybe Charlie Cox at the most. They could kickstart his Daredevil once again. But I just don't think that. I think we're getting too much out of this. I think we're putting too much into it. I think that he wants to build something else, Kevin Feige does, and maybe have the Defenders as a small part of that equation.
Yeah, because there's already, Disney already has a Heroes for Hire show on their slate. So right now it's just a word of like is Mike Colter going to play? Well, Heroes for Hire, that's Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Who's going to play who? Is it going to be something that exists? And then the idea from what I'm reading is that the Heroes for Hire will tie into Shang-Chi in some way, because in the comic books, Iron Fist and Shang-Chi are kind of like, I guess, crime fighting partners.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, my friend. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, anybody who's having like major hype expectations on the Defenders all coming in and playing a major role in the MCU, I think you need to temper that enthusiasm.
Yeah. I don't really care about the Defenders. I just want to see Charlie Cox as Daredevil again, because I know we've talked about this before, but I think that is like one of the greatest Marvel like creations ever, and I would love to see him continue.
I think he will, but again, it depends what kind of feedback. If he gets a really great reception from his appearance in Spider-Man 3, who knows? He could play a major role from here on out. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Cannot thank you enough for being part as always. And again, check us out on Twitch, Pop Culture Cosmos. We're putting content up there each and every day, live, and some of our best that we're putting up there each and every day. So please catch us on any social media outlet. Our Facebook viewing, we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamers on Facebook, and we hope to be someday soon on Twitch. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.